I'm Ben from Sundowner RV. Today we're going to have a look at hooking up the caravan onto the car. What's the correct way to attach the chains, the cables, breakaway switch, all of those things. So we're going to have a demonstration using our standard hitch, which is using the 50mm ball, on our 19 foot 6 feather top beautiful caravan, brand new, just come in today. So let's have a look. First thing you've got to do is back the car up and try and get the ball as close to possible to being right under the hitch. It's a lot easier even with the camera if you've got an assistant there like Gabby to give you some direction about just how far back to go, when to stop. You can get a good idea with the camera, but to get it exactly right is quite difficult. Okay, so I've got it in a good spot. I'm going to lower it down now with the jockey wheel. And I'm going to take it down all the way until the weight's completely off the jockey wheel. So there we go, now the jockey wheel's spinning, so that's all loose. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp the hitch down on there like that. It's far too easy to go, right, that's on there, let's get the jockey wheel off, let's do the handbrake, let's do this, let's do that, right, let's go. And away you go. Next thing you know, you go over a bump, caravan comes off the car because it's not locked on, and then you've got to try and get people to help you put it back on, maybe get the jack out to lift it up. Apparently it's embarrassing, so try to avoid it. I've heard, yeah. Right, so clamp it down. That's the first thing I always do. We can take the handbrake off now if you like, because we've got the car, it's in park, we've got the handbrake on, so the car's going to hold the caravan. Let's take the handbrake off so we don't accidentally drive away with that on. And the next thing we're going to do is take the jockey wheel off. So jockey wheel, let's get these cables out of the way. Take the jockey wheel off, we just undo it here. Okay, now it's important that the jockey wheel completely comes off the caravan. It's not okay to lift it up and re-clamp it on, or turn it upside down. I have seen people do it and clamp it that way, but there's a fair chance if you do either of those solutions, you're going to end up catching it on the ground somewhere. You'll go over a mound, whatever, and you're going to bend it, you're going to damage everything. Take it right off every time, you won't have any problems. I'm going to put that straight in the back of the car so I don't leave it lying around. Pops in there. You can go in the tunnel back of the car wherever is convenient. And I'm going to do the clamp back up so that's not flopping around whilst I'm driving. So that goes straight in there. And I'm just going to do it up so it's firm, not bouncing around. I don't need to make it tight. That's fine, it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do now, or the next thing I'm going to do, is attach the chains. So the chains are here on our hooks, keeping them nice and tidy. So take them off, just drop them on the ground. When you do the chains on any trailer with two chains, the correct way to attach it to the car is to cross the chains over like that. And the reason for that is that if the car and the caravan separate, the hitch will land on the chains where it's crossed over, not on the ground. Alright, so the way I do that, I'll grab my shackles. So they're my shackles with their lovely yellow pins. Now there's a lot of discussion about the fact that maybe you need ones with yellow pins, maybe you don't. The yellow pin doesn't really mean anything. It just means it looks nice. It's got a yellow pin. It's not a rating. There's no actual specification relating to the yellow or pink or blue. There is all different coloured pins. What's important is what's actually stamped on the shackle. I'm going to hold that up there so you can see it. So that's a 1 tonne rated shackle. There's no actual legislation or specification about what is the right rated shackle for a caravan. Having had some discussions with Bullivants who make these shackles, do these, well, they make them, they sell them, they make them for lifting equipment, for trailers, for everything else. They recommend that a minimum, a third of the trailer's weight should be the rating on the shackle. So this is 1 tonne. I can then go up to 3 tonnes with my caravan, which is more than this caravan's allowed to be anyway. So I know I've got plenty of capacity there, and I've got 2 of them. So I've actually got 2 tonnes worth of lifting, and we're not lifting, we're only attaching the trailer on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the chain from your side, and I'm going to make it the length that's going to give it plenty of slack, but not allow it to drag along the ground. So I think probably 4 lengths. If I look at on the 4th link with the shackle, that should be about right. So I'm going to put that through there. I've got the shackle so that I can put the pin through from that side, makes it easy to put it on. So that will go on there. And I'm going to do the pin up reasonably tight so it doesn't shake loose, but without going overboard and having to get the pliers to get it off. So I put that one on, but I've forgotten something, haven't I? I've forgotten the breakaway cable. So I'm going to just take that off again. And I'm going to attach the breakaway cable to that same shackle. The breakaway cable just has to go to somewhere on the caravan, on the car, so that in the event that the car and the caravan separate, the pin in the breakaway switch will pull out and the caravan's brakes will be applied. So I'm going to prop that through there so that it's not dragging along the road, and then I'm going to prop it over my shackle there, and now I'm going to reattach the shackle onto the car. And again, just do that up, finger tight, not going to shake loose. Alright, now I'm going to come over to your side, and I'm going to do exactly the same with the other chain. So I'm going to go to the fourth link. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and pop it on. Now, the correct length for the chains is really going to depend on the tow bar on each car. It's going to be different. So it's not a good idea to cut the extra links off. Just go to the length that is appropriate for that particular car that you're using at the time. So shackle through and exactly the same. Pop that on. And do that up finger tight. Okay, so chains are on, they're crossed over, that looks good. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the cables. So I've got 3 cables. I've got the normal trailer wiring, which is our 12-pin plug there. I've got the Safety Dave rear view camera cable, and I've got the Anderson plug. So let's start with the 12-pin plug. It's quite easy to see. You've got 5 big pins on the bottom and 7 smaller pins on the top. So I just need to match that up with my car socket. So I've got the big pins on the bottom, and that just pushes straight in. Next I'm going to do the Anderson plug. So the Anderson plug can only go one way and pushes on like that. Now with the Safety Dave rear view camera cable, if you look closely you'll see there's an arrow there, and there's a corresponding arrow on the car side of the cable as well. So that's the arrow there. So if I can match those 2 arrows up, it'll go in correctly every time. So that will go in like that, and then I just put up that ring, and that's it, that's on. So our cables are all plugged in. However, it's not going to be okay to drive away like this, because by the time I get to my destination, they'll probably have worn through from the road. So I need to tidy them up and lift them up so they're not going to be dragging on the road. Earlier today, I strategically placed some cable ties here. So I'm going to grab one of those, and I'm going to tie it doesn't really matter where, but I'm going to put it onto the handle here for the hitch. And I think probably about that length is probably plenty of cable, but still can't get down to the road. So that's probably about right there. So I'm going to tie that up nice and tight. I'm going to grab another cable tie, and just to keep it nice and neat and tidy, I'm going to put that on around here. And this is the sort of thing that we do when you come to pick up your caravan. Normally we set this all up for you, so it's something that if you're doing it yourself, grab some cable ties. I'm going to do one more up here. Keep it all nice and tidy. Makes it all so much easier if you haven't got cables flopping around all over the place. Now there's no reason you need to take that off to unhitch the car. That still works perfectly fine. So that's where I'll leave it all the time. It'll be permanently attached to there. Just to keep it tidy, another strategic positioning of the side cutters in the back of the car. I'm going to cut off that extra bit of cable tie, and that one, and that one, and side cutters back. Otherwise Shane will kill me if I lose them, and that's our cables all done. So now you can see that that's all hooked up and it's ready to go. While we're here, let's have a quick look at the Dexter sway control light. So as you can see, that's now on and it's solid green. Solid green means it's working correctly, and the light's turned on because I've plugged the car into the caravan. Alright. It'll flash off about every 15 seconds. That means it's working correctly, and then come back on solid green. So that's really the total of hooking up the caravan, and unhooking is just exactly the opposite. So now I'm ready to go. Before I drive away, I always have a quick check. Everything's plugged in, hitch is down, cables are all out of the way, handbrake's off, I'm ready to go. Now, just a couple of other things to think about. You might plug this in and then go and check your lights and find that your indicator light on one side isn't working, for example. Now, these plugs have a tendency to not always have great connection. If you do find that problem, grab a really thin knife blade and just slide it in between those pins and just open them a fraction. That'll make all the difference. Normally, 9 times out of 10, if you've got one of the lights not working, by just opening up the pin just that fraction, you'll find that you'll fix your problem and your lights will all be working. So that's a little tip for you. The other thing I wanted to quickly talk about is what's the right height for the tow bar or for the caravan when it's attached to the car. So the way to work that out is set the caravan up so that it's level on the ground, measure the height of the bottom of the hitch here, and then when you attach it to the car, you want it to be just below that level, so up to 50 mils below, somewhere between level and 50 mils below. If it goes down more than that, then we have to think about why that's happened. Now, if we're finding that the car and the caravan both go down, that's when we'd consider using a weight distribution hitch. They're not always the answer for everything, but that could be the answer if we're doing that. If the car's still level but the caravan's gone down too low, then we probably need a different tongue for the tow bar that will lift up so that we're not dropping the caravan down as low. Or if we're too high, we might need one that drops it down. Sometimes the tow bar can be flipped over, the tongue. Sometimes it can't. It depends on what setup you've got. This car, I've put airbags on it now, so the airbags hold it up so it doesn't drop so much like that. Generally speaking, with this car, most caravans now, a weight distribution hitch isn't really required. Some caravans I would still use it with. So they're more detailed conversations that we'd go into with being very specific to each car and caravan combination. So hopefully this has been helpful, give you some ideas about hooking up, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.